Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okello. I am the host of the African Father in America podcast, and I am very, very excited to be here with you for another amazing episode of the African Father in America podcast. It's a Thursday morning here in Seattle, Washington, Thursday early morning here in Seattle, Washington, and we are live streaming on a number of platforms. We are live on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Give this video a thumbs up and also leave your comment down below. Do the same if you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn. I want you to make sure, we are connected. Even on TikTok, we are also live over there. Thank you so much. Make sure you share the link to today's live stream. Again, my name is Simon Javan Okello. I am the host of the African Father in America podcast, and I'm really, really excited for today's episode. As usual, with every episode of the African Father in America podcast, we bring you new African proverbs every single day. We bring you, guests that, share with us their stories about, the work that they do, the music that they produce. We also share news about some of the things that we do. I produce the biggest African festival in the west coast of the US, and this year we are expanding it to other parts of the US. It's called Madaraka Festival. If you go online and look up Madaraka Festival, you can learn a little more. MadarakaFestival.com is the website where you can go to and learn a little bit more. I'll be talking about Madaraka Festival a lot on this podcast over the next few weeks. It was announced yesterday. The tickets are going to be available from tomorrow, and stay tuned if you want to learn more. But back to the regular routine of our podcast. We always start with a proverb, and then we share 3 nuggets of wisdom that are related to that proverb. So if you're watching, you probably know this already, but if you're new, I want to share with you what the proverb is, and then I'm going to break it down. But also your participation is really, really important. The best way you can participate is also for you to share your own interpretation of the proverb that we are discussing. The proverb that we're discussing today is from the Wolof tribe, the Wolof community. The Wolof community are found in Senegal, Nigeria, and many other parts of West Africa. And the proverb from this community that we have today says that the voice of truth is easily known. The voice of truth is easily known. What is it that comes to your mind when you hear this proverb? The voice of truth is easily known. This is a beautiful proverb. And currently, over the last about 2 weeks, we've been talking about the value of truth, the value of integrity, the value of honesty, especially in the world that we are living in today, where the amount of content that you're bombarded with, you really don't know what is what. You really don't know what you can trust. But we end up consuming a lot of content that is damaging to our mental health, damaging to our well-being. So, staying on that theme of, honesty, truthfulness, and integrity, we are discussing this beautiful proverb, the voice of truth is easily known. What is it that comes to your mind when you hear this proverb? I want to see in the comments, whether you are on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter. I want to see in the comments. Make sure you share this live. If you're on Twitter, make sure you retweet it. If you're on TikTok, make sure you take a minute to share the link to this live stream across other social media platforms, and also make sure you're commenting, you're liking this live stream over there on TikTok. That's very, very important. I'm going to share 3 nuggets of wisdom with you in just a moment. I want to first of all just say I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you've all taken a minute to join me for today's broadcast of the African Father in America podcast. I don't take that support for granted. So if you're watching or if you will be listening later on, because we distribute the African Father in America podcast across all podcasting platforms, I encourage you to listen in on Twitter, listen in on Spotify, and make sure you're engaged with the work we're doing, because over the next few weeks we will be interviewing some incredible guests that you can only find here on the African Father in America podcast. So when we think about this proverb, the voice of truth is easily known from the wall of tribe, what is it that comes to your mind? The truth has a way of making itself heard, even in the midst of confusion and chaos. When you look at Africa right now, on March 20th, in Kenya, there is a major protest that is going on, and it's being said that the masses are likely going to go to State House. The conversation in Kenya is that the current president is illegitimate, and so the opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga, who is also the people's president, has been agitating for change in Kenya, and has actually contributed to the development of freedom of expression, freedom for human rights, and a lot of freedoms that Kenya did not have since independence. We are now experiencing as a result of the efforts of people like Raila Odinga. So when he speaks, a lot of people respond. And so no matter what the leadership in Kenya says, for example, what the President Ruto says, you find that people still listen to Raila Odinga because he is the voice of truth. And the voice of truth, according to this proverb, is easily known. In South Africa, on March 20th, there's also a big protest against the fact that South Africa is one of the second largest economy in Africa, but there are always blackouts there. So for years they're always rationing electricity. Sometime I've been on this podcast live with guests in South Africa, and suddenly there's a blackout. It's worse than Kenya, where I grew up. And so the people in South Africa, led by Julius Malema, are going to be protesting, and they want a new president because their current president cannot figure out a solution to their energy situation on March 20th. And so in the case of South Africa, people see that it's true. We have no electricity, and we want someone who can fix that problem. And then the story goes on to Nigeria. The same day, there's going to be protest against police brutality, and to a certain extent, electoral justice. In Tunisia, there has been a lot of racist attacks against black Africans who live there. And so there's going to be a protest against the current leadership there. So if you look at what's going on in Africa, especially currently, and specifically on March 20th, you find that this proverb is very relevant. The voice of truth is easily known. The voice of truth is also always the voice of the little people. And when the voice of the little people come and make the voice of the masses, it becomes bigger, that it cannot be ignored. But that is not our 3 nuggets of wisdom. I was just expressing a few thoughts while I got ready to share with you the actual 3 nuggets of wisdom that I want you to take away. So if you have a pen and paper, you should note this down. Again, these nuggets of wisdom that I want to share are related to our proverb from the Wall of Community. The proverb says, the voice of truth is easily known. If you're watching this on TikTok, let me know in the comment what this proverb means to you. If you're watching it on YouTube, let me know in the comments. And also on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up and make sure you're sharing this live from across all the platforms where you could be watching the African Father in America show today. It's very, very important that you support the show by sharing the link, by commenting, and by giving it a thumbs up. Give it some love. That's one of the ways that we can continue doing this. We are not asking you to contribute anything financially. We're just asking you to engage. You can engage by sharing, you can engage by commenting, you can engage by liking across all platforms, but especially YouTube. We are putting in a lot of work to grow the podcast there. So the first nugget of wisdom says that the truth has a certain resonance that can be easily recognized, even in a sea of falsehoods and misinformation. No matter how people try to create chaos in order for you not to know your way home, even in the dark you can walk home. Sometimes that's how the truth is. Number 2, when a person speaks from a place of truth, their words carry a weight and authority that cannot be replicated by those who are not speaking truthfully. Even amongst friends, amongst family, there are always people that are not liked. I was watching a Kenyan Netflix movies in December. In December, I had a surgery on my left ankle. And so I had a lot of time where I was just in bed and I had pillows and I was just raising my left leg most of the day for weeks until the surgery that I had on my left ankle was doing well. So I was watching a Kenyan, film, and it was about a family situation. The whole film was around a family situation where there were siblings, there was a mom and dad in that family, and then there was one son. And this son, he was well educated, but in university, he participated in activism and things that cost him, made it so that he was expelled from university. So he went and started gardening, and he was considered the drunkard of the family. But his younger brother was very successful as a lawyer, and so whenever there were family feuds, this drunkard was the one who was telling people the truth. He's the one who was like a truth teller. Drunkards are always looked down upon in families, in communities, but they're always the people who always say the truth, because they don't care. People already look down upon them. So this nugget of wisdom reminds me of this individual in this movie who he spoke the truth, and sometimes he got into big trouble, but that's what he wanted to say. And it reminds me also of children. I'm a father of 3 beautiful girls, and they don't know anything else but the truth. So if you've made bad food, they'll tell you that, oh, daddy, this is terrible. If you make good food, they will tell you, oh, this is great, can I have more? So this second nugget of wisdom really, really reminds us that you cannot hide the truth. No matter how chaotic it is, you will eventually discover it. Then finally, the voice of truth can be a powerful force for change because it can cut through the noise and distractions to bring attention to important issues of injustices. And, world over, if you think about the story of Martin Luther King and the work that he did as a civil rights leader, if you think about the work that Malcolm X did, without them standing in truth, a lot of injustices would have continued to happen here in America. In fact, I'm a beneficiary of the work that people like Malcolm X and people like Martin Luther King did, because of the work that they did, today we enjoy a certain amount of freedoms that a lot of black people did not enjoy in this country. And so when I think about this proverb, I think about all these nuggets of wisdom. And I want you to also share with me in the comments, if you're watching on TikTok, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on, Twitter or Facebook. I want to know what you also think, in the comments. Make sure you're typing, because we are heading towards the end of our time together today. And I want to make sure that I capture your own perspective of today's show. I capture your own perspective of today's proverb. I take this show pretty much like sitting around the fire in the village and having a conversation with friends and family. And such conversations, especially those conversations around the fire, each person says something and each person shares their own perspective. And so, without your perspective live during this live stream, the show is not complete. So I want to take a moment. I want to give a few people some shout outs. I see my friends and my family and the supporters of the show have joined me here. I want to give a big shout out to Cabs Destiny, who has always supported the show. I deeply appreciate you for the time that you created for us to have a phone call the other day, where we really talked and found ways that we can better support each other. I want to thank you, Brother Earth, for also always taking the time. I know that this is around your work time. I just deeply appreciate you for always supporting. And also on TikTok, I see you, Steve. Thank you for joining us over there. Steve is family and also a colleague of mine. We work together, and I just appreciate you for being here. Make sure you bring the whole team next time, Steve. I want to see people like I want to see everybody joining us for this live stream. It takes the village to do this kind of work. And of course, I see Stella also. I want to thank you for all the work that you're putting in to make this show possible. Without you and without the rest of our team, this work is hard. This work is hard. Last night I went to bed at like 1:30 a.m. Because there was work that had to be done before I went to bed, and I was up by 5. And it's almost 6:30 in the morning. So I feel good about all of this, but it takes sacrifice. It takes sacrifices, to get this kind of show done, to get Madaraka Festival done. We are in the thickness of pushing for Madaraka Festival. So if you're watching and you live in New York and you live in Dallas and you live in Atlanta, we are bringing Madaraka Festival to your city in May. Madaraka Festival has been going on in Seattle, Washington since 2014 at the Museum of Pop Culture. And then in 2019, Madaraka Festival happened in Kisumu, Kenya at Kisumu Beach Resort. And then last year it happened at the waterfront, Pier 62 in Seattle, Washington. Dibanj was the headliner. There were over 7,000 people. So this year in Seattle, the event is going to be on May 26th at Benaroya Hall. Tickets are going to be on sale tomorrow. So make sure you go to Benaroya Hall's website and get your ticket and help us spread the word. If you are in Atlanta, we will be at Buckhead Theater on May 21st. If you are in Dallas, we will be there on May 24th. And if you are in New York, we will be there on May 16th. So save those dates, help us spread the word, and we will be sharing more about who are the artists and, and many other stories. So for now, I want to just thank you again for taking the time to join me for another amazing episode of the African Father in America podcast. I hope I'll be able to see you again tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I believe it's 5 p.m. East African Time and around 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast of the U.S. I think it's also around 2 o'clock when this show happens in Europe, in the UK. So no matter where you're watching the show from, I just want you to know that you are very, very special to me, and without you, this could not happen. And again, if you're watching this later on after it's recorded live, I want you to take time, leave your comment, share, and tell me how this proverb impacts you in some way in your life. And also tell me how this show, the African Father in America podcast, what does it mean to you? You know, what does it mean to you? I just want to learn a little more. So with those few and many, many words, we've come to the tail end of our time together today, and I really, really thank you. I see that quite a few people are watching the show today on TikTok. I want you to follow me there so that next time when we are live, you can catch the show. I also see that, people are watching on Twitter, on Facebook. I want you to make sure you follow me in those platforms, and also on LinkedIn. Make sure you follow me and share the link to this video that you're watching. And also, if you're on YouTube, that's like the kitchen. That's where we are cooking everything. I want you to make sure you really subscribe to my channel and share the link to my channel with your community, so that next time when we are live, you can find us. You can find us, because we are not stopping. We are going to continue on until we get old, because Proverbs have always been there before us, and we want to record these Proverbs in this way, on video, on audio. We write blogs about them so that our children can also learn about them. So with all of those, I just want to thank you very much, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace and love.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.